lucky to make it to the white tees over there.
I'll be lucky to yeah, pretty much.
They say when you get skinny fat, your golf swing gets better, but that's not true.
Yeah,
not at all.
Saturdays and Sundays, I normally end up having some sort of family thing, so I'm normally out doing something all day long. Last week it was the zoo. It kind of gets me away from my normal routine, which is nice, but then also gives you a little bit of a break from the monotony of prep. I'm thinking about prepping and the food and the workouts and all that stuff, so it's nice to get away and actually be around guys that aren't in the industry, aren't always worried about that kind of stuff. Friends that I have that have different interests, different lives, and it's kind of a nice change of pace.
We just like to take Nick out here so we can actually beat him up on the golf course. He's got us in the gym, so
Yeah, gotta do it somewhere.
Weeks of prep feel good because you're starting something new. And then as you get into like week 7 and 8, things start to get really hard. That's where the dark places come, where you're frustrated, you want to give up, you're hungry.
Cardio is probably going to be increasing, which means most likely less sleep. On top of that, food's going to be decreasing. On top of that, supplementation is going to change, and supplementation does make a difference as far as like mood and how you're going to interact with people. Your temper will get a little bit higher just because you're frustrated and you're irritated and you're hungry, and it is what it is. And that's just part of the process and understanding that. And I think being here before will help out with that in the aspect that I know what my body gets to.
And even though Nick lives and breathes the sport, I 100% know that he probably feels the same way. So during those couple of weeks, that's where things feel really tough and you go to that dark place.
On the last rep with the, what was that? How much was that? No, the set before. 455. So at 455, the last rep, my hips shot back and everything went to my lower back. We shot to 315 and just keeping that constant tension, doing the pistons. My lower back was just throbbing. So I got to a point where if I would have kept pushing, I would have tweaked something. So just brought it all the way down, got it off my back. We got more work to do in this workout. So right now it's about pushing limits, but
anyway, so
nope, just about pushing limits as far as taxing the body, trying to dig into that last bit of body fat. That's why on all those reps, I was specifically trying to go a little bit deeper too. Just theoretically, from a squat perspective, glutes get initiated from 3 separate things. One's hip abduction, pushing knees apart from each other. It's hip, pushing your hips back. And then getting that just below parallel activates glutes a little bit more than if you stay above parallel. So the goal was to do all of that in that set, purposely abducting, bringing hips back, and sitting below parallel. So yeah, that's fun. Now we go on to the next one.
Ever since I've known him, he's always wanted to keep pushing boundaries, whether it was with his business or with clients or in the gym. And he always progressed. I never saw him go backwards. And if he did, it was more on his personal level than me actually seeing it. So it was just it's just somebody great to be around with, you know, that has that great mentality. And at the end of the day, he's gotten to where he's at because of his hard work. And for me, it's great that he took the time to actually get me to come and help him out and help him these last 6 weeks. And the fact that he values my opinion as far as training and posing and stuff like that. So I was very honored that he wanted me to be a part of it.
Do you want to get?
What's that?
You want to get or you done?
I'm gonna go down.
Do like a 70% at like 16 reps, or 60%, 16 reps. So you're like, what do you do, 315? Do like a 165 or a 225. We're gonna rep it out.
We're gonna do 16 reps.
Whatever you got.
Alright.
Hurts to walk.
Yeah, right there.
The whole time I was sitting down, my ass was like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those days.
Fucking hungry. So this last week, coming out of show, obviously for the 5-ish days coming out of show, food stayed about the same, so it went back up a little bit, and training backed off, and we kind of just let my body heal up for the 5 days. And then as of yesterday, foods dropped back down as of Friday, so we're pushing back into a deficit again pretty hard. And then training intensity has gone way up. So intensity goes up, the volume goes up. We're pushing my body a little bit now that my joints have actually gotten to the point where they're not dried out anymore, and I'm not as dry. Still pretty dry, but my joints are a little bit more healed up from the water depletion that we did from the show. So not as big of a risk of injury at this point in time. So we got food down a little bit. Cardio picked back up, so we're about up to 35 minutes of cardio a day, and training intensity picked up. And so now today is the first high carb day. I did 3 days of depletion, basically 2 days of low carb, 1 day of high fat and low carb, and then today is a high carb, low fat day, specifically on leg day because I can use the extra energy. As I've watched the trends, and as Dom and I have watched trends, what happens with me is the low carb days / low calorie days, I'll lose. We get to the high fat day, typically my weight either stalls out or it goes up a little bit. And then we go high carb day, low fat day, and my body weight typically drops by about 2 pounds the next day. So the way my body works is I've always ran better on carbohydrates, but I deplete really, really fast if my fats are low. And so typically what we'll see is tomorrow we'll see a decent drop, and then we'll go right back into depletion again for 2 more days. So 2 more low carb days, another high fat day, and then back to a high carb day. But it all depends on how my body responds. So Dom and I are in constant contact. We'll see weight trend. If we start to see too much drop, like we had in the past, where I've dropped anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds overnight all of a sudden, then we'll end up doing a refeed either the next day or the day after. And with where my body's at, we're at a very kind of sensitive place at this point in time. From a metabolic standpoint, my body tends to kick once I get this lean. And so I might stall out for a day or 2, and then all of a sudden, boom, I drop 3 or 4 pounds. So it's just the way that my body's always worked. So we have a constant eye on it, making sure that we're kind of manipulating it day to day, depending upon how my body is. My brain is starting to get kind of all over the place, having a lot harder time kind of concentrating on what the tasks are that I need to be getting done daily. And I'm noticing like throughout the day, my energy levels are dropping. I'm finally taking a pre-workout that actually has caffeine in it now, just to keep me going and get me going into the workouts. And yeah, I mean, I'm brain's a little more scrambled than it was previously, and kind of concentration's a little bit different than what it was, but it's not horrible. I've had it way worse in the past. I'm not completely prep brain where I'll leave like my keys in the cupboard or in the fridge and stuff like that, but definitely having a harder time keeping on top of all the tasks that I need to do throughout my day, which is typical. I mean, now we're at 6 weeks out, and we're digging into a body fat I don't think I've ever been to as far as how lean we're getting. So we're getting to a point now where it's going to kind of start playing with my brain a little bit. But you know, this is the point where you know, I kind of weighed the options, and I knew that about 6 weeks out is when it's going to be a little bit harder to keep business in order and keep everything in order. And so I just have to focus a little bit better when I'm doing those tasks and try to make sure that I'm staying on top of giving everything I can to those tasks in specific time frames rather than spacing stuff out. It just needs to all be done right away. The nice part is that most of my clients understand the position that I'm in at this point in time, and they're understanding kind of where my brain is at. And you know, I've already been apologizing to a few of them, being like, hey man, I'm sorry about the time that it's taken me to get back to you, and so on and so forth. And they're all very understanding. They all understand kind of where we're at and kind of the tasks that we're pushing right now for the next 6 weeks. So I'm lucky in the aspect of the clients that work with me. The only ones that I'm really staying on top of are the ones that are competing in, you know, 10 to 12 weeks. I want to make sure that I'm actually getting them their stuff as fast as possible, to make sure that, you know, we can obviously bring their best to stage. At this point in time, you know, instead of pushing for 7 reps with a maximal weight, like I did with 465 or 455 or whatever it was today, you know, I talked to him before the set, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for a heavy set of 6, and we're gonna drop down to 315, we're gonna go piston style and just rep it out. And my ego gets the best of me, and so, you know, I felt the 6 and it felt good. So I went for the 7, came out of the 7th, my hip shot back, and then it all went to my lower back. And so, you know, it's one of those things of I have to be consistent about backing off and being smart. At the same time, still pushing enough that we can, in my eyes, the way I look at it is I have to still stress the muscle tissue to make my body maintain muscle tissue. And so we just kind of have to be a smart balance of pushing hard enough, but not so much that I'm going to tweak something, tear something, or anything like that. Just because at this point, my body is so vulnerable. My joints are vulnerable. The muscle tissue itself is going to be a lot drier. So any sort of like overexertion to a point where we're losing form is going to end up causing a risk of injury, which is not what we want right now. So it's just about pushing those limits without actually causing injury.